South Carolina quarterback LaNorris Sellers came clean and was very open about what his expectations are for his final season there in South Carolina. We're going to talk about it next, right here on the College Huddle. '87 independent podcast from coast to coast. You've landed on the mothership for the College Huddle right here on YouTube. Go on over to our website, thecollegehuddle.com. Find your next favorite college football podcast over at thecollegehuddle.com. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show, hype the video if you don't mind. And of course, let us know what you think about what we think down in the comment section below. Let's get into it. LaNorris Sellers, boy, oh boy. Last year was kind of a disappointment for the young man. Bursted onto the scene in 2024. 2025, not so good. He recently got some feedback from the NFL, the scouts that is, about what they expect from him and what he needs to do in 2026 in order to get drafted by the NFL. If he would have went out after his third year in college last year, he might have gotten drafted. I think he probably would have. There's a lot of talent there. There's really good film from 2024 for NFL scouts to look at. You know, he's been compared at different times to Lamar Jackson and things of that nature. But last year was not a very good year for him. He admittedly recently said that he had to come back. That after third year, he thought about going to the NFL, but after thinking about it and exploring the NFL options, he's coming back for his fourth year in college football. He said that the NFL wanted to see more of him playing in the pocket, being more comfortable in the pocket, finding rhythm, calming his feet down a little bit, unquote, from his recent interview. And I think all of that makes perfect sense. When you look at what he did in 2024 compared to 2025, everything was down. The completion percentage down by 5%, yards thrown down by 100. Didn't even get to 2,500 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, down from 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions the year before. Shoot, even running the football. He rushed for 270 yards and 5 touchdowns compared to 675 yards and 7 touchdowns in 2024. So it was not a great year for LaNorris Sellers, to say the least. But what about this year? Now, I do believe there is a possibility that if LaNorris Sellers returns to the form that he had in 2024, maybe even improves on it slightly, that we might be looking at a possible Heisman Trophy candidate. He is a dark horse for the candidate, and I don't tell you how to spend your money. I never would. But if you've got a few extra bucks to spare and you think, hey, you know what? What if? Maybe throw it down on Sellers to win the Heisman. The odds are there that you could be coming home with some serious big money if you've got some loose change to spare on that bet. So that's something to consider. The schedule, here's why I say if he returns to form, if all goes well, if South Carolina becomes a CFP candidate, given the schedule they play in 2026, there is room for one to believe that Sellers absolutely could be a Heisman candidate in 2026. If he leads the Gamecocks to the CFP, he's going to go to New York. There's no doubt about that, in my opinion, because that means he's going to have an absolute year, and he's going to do it on a national stage where they're going to be given plenty of opportunity for a lot of eyeballs to take a look at this phenomenal talent. Taking a look at the schedule, the first 2 games they need to make hay. It's Kent State. It's Towson at home. Teams they absolutely should dominate. But then they get right into SEC play with a home game on September 19th against the Mississippi State Bulldogs. That's a Mississippi State team that went to a bowl game last year. That's a Mississippi State team that has some expectations in 2026 and who are riding some momentum. going into this upcoming season. Then they have their first road game of the year on September 26th, where they got to go to Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. That's a road trip to the Tide, who will be ranked in the top 25, obviously. Then a home game on October 3rd against Kentucky before going back on the road on October 10th to take on the Florida Gators. Although Florida might not be ranked to start the year, I do believe Florida is going to be a much improved football team given the coaching staff that's now in charge down there in the swamp. And so a trip to the swamp isn't going to be an easy thing for Sellers and the Gamecocks, although they might be favored to win that football game. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to see where the experts believe those two teams are going into the season. So, looking at those first 6 games, there's 5 of them there that I legitimately think South Carolina absolutely should be in and or win. You get Mississippi State at home, like I said. The trip to Florida isn't going to be easy, but, if things go your way and you got some momentum, should be a more talented team in year number 1 there for the Gators under the new regime. The trip to Alabama, no one's expecting you to win that football game, but if you could pull off that upset and all of a sudden the Gamecocks are 6-0 going into their October 17th bye, then there's going to be massive buzz around this team. Massive buzz halfway through the season. But then the second part of the schedule hits. And my friends, there are no breathers. It is a murderer's row in the second part of this schedule for South Carolina. Just look at this thing. They start off at home against what's probably going to be a ranked Tennessee team. Now, I think South Carolina could win that football game. I'm not high on Tennessee this year, but the experts will probably have Tennessee as favorite in that game. Back on the road at Oklahoma, that's a much improved Oklahoma team. That's a Sooner team who went to the college football playoff. They got to the college football playoff, that is, and hosted a game. Didn't go so well for them, but that's an Oklahoma team that's expecting to get back there again this year, and they have massive expectations. Come back home on November 7th. The November portion of your schedule starts with a game against Texas A&M at home. Now, thankfully, this one's going to be for you at home. That gives you a puncher's chance, but A&M, one of the better teams in the country. Back on the road again at Arkansas. Again, this should be a game you win, but it's at Arkansas. So again, not an easy thing to do, go on the road in the SEC. So even the games that are quote-unquote winnable games are difficult because they're on the road at Florida, at Arkansas. And then November 21st, your last home game is against Georgia. So congratulations, senior day is against one of the best teams in the country, one of the best teams in the SEC, in the Georgia Bulldogs, before finally wrapping up the season by going on the road and taking on rival Clemson at Memorial Stadium in Death Valley in Clemson, South Carolina. So that last portion of the schedule, even if they start 6-0, can they find 4 wins in those last 6 games to get to 10-2 and get CFP eligible? It's going to be a tall task. That's why I say if South Carolina can get to 10-2, get to the college football playoff, there's no reason to not believe LaNorris Sellers can't be a Heisman candidate in 2026. Because if they're going to do it, this guy is going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting for them. Absolutely. Now, I've got my eye on South Carolina. I do think they're a dark horse this year. I do. I think that there's a lot of talent there. I think that if they can just get the ship going in the right direction, they've got an opportunity to have a really good year. But I also believe this. Things could fall apart for South Carolina early in this season. And if they do, this is going to be a train wreck of a season. I hope for Sellers' future, it is not, because I think he is a very, very talented young man. Let me know what you think about what I think down in the comments section below. Do you think Sellers has the opportunity to be a Heisman candidate if indeed he can get the Gamecocks to 10-2 or better on the season and pull off a handful of huge upsets against a ton of SEC talent and rivals that will be coming in to South Carolina expecting to beat the Gamecocks in 2026? Love to know your thoughts below. We'll be back with more college football content for you right here on the College Huddle.